Jay-Z just shattered 3 decades of friendship with a single courtroom bombshell, one that left even the judge momentarily speechless. In the space of a few sworn sentences, hip-hop's most guarded billionaire turned the spotlight onto himself, dragging legends, protégés, and hidden footage into a case already stacked with racketeering and sex trafficking charges. If what observers say he revealed is true, Sean Diddy Combs isn't the only titan whose legacy and freedom now hangs by a thread. Federal Court, May 2025. Prosecutors outline a sprawling RICO indictment that could lock Diddy away for life, while the press gallery buzzes over an electrifying twist. Rumored testimony from his oldest ally turned reluctant witness. On paper, the charges are brutal: sex trafficking by force, interstate transportation for prostitution, racketeering conspiracy. But what really supercharges the drama is the parade of insiders willing to talk. The FBI raids that reportedly uncovered industrial-sized stashes of party supplies, and a courtroom sketch of power finally meeting consequence. Against that backdrop, Jay-Z's abrupt pivot from calling Diddy family to insisting they were only business lands like a grenade. Just months ago, he was fending off a now-dismissed civil suit he called pure blackmail. Now, inside these walls, every shared track, champagne toast, and late-night party photo becomes potential evidence or collateral damage. As whispers of a presidential pardon swirl and other A-listers bolt for cover, one question eclipses all others: what did Jay-Z see, and why speak up now? Stick around, because the answers could rewrite hip-hop history, and they're only getting louder.
From the moment Judge Arun Subramanian gavelled the courtroom to order on May 12, flanked by an all-female prosecution squad led by Maureen Comey, daughter of the former FBI director, it was clear this wasn't merely another celebrity scandal. Prosecutors laid out a 5-count federal indictment that reads like organized crime lore, racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transporting people across state lines for prostitution or debauchery. If the jury returns guilty on every count, Sean Diddy could spend the rest of his life in a federal penitentiary. Over the first 4 weeks, the government has marched a grim procession of witnesses to the stand: former assistants, stylists, even a hotel manager, each sketching the same picture: an empire built on fear, money, and meticulous control. While Diddy's attorneys counter that every encounter was between consenting adults, the list of corroborating details keeps growing, from a 2016 security cam assault to text logs that allegedly show hush money payouts. Outside, the scene feels more Super Bowl than criminal trial. News trucks jam Foley Square, curious fans cluster behind barricades, and paparazzi zoom lens every arriving SUV, hoping to glimpse the next surprise witness. Inside, the defendant sits impassive in tailored charcoal, but the stakes couldn't be higher. One RICO conviction alone can carry 20 years. Stacked together, the counts add up to a virtual life sentence. Yet what truly electrifies the gallery is the specter of Jay-Z, hip-hop's first billionaire, and, until recently, Diddy's most loyal public ally, now positioned as the prosecution's reluctant ace in the hole. His sworn testimony, lawyers hint, could thread 3 decades of friendship into a timeline of knowledge, complicity, or outright silence. If Hove confirms even a fraction of the rumors, the fallout won't stop at the defendant's table. It could ricochet through label boardrooms, luxury brand partnerships, and maybe even the Oval Office, where whispers of a celebrity pardon already float. But court transcripts only tell half the story. To understand how this legal juggernaut began, we need to step far beyond the marble columns and into the candlelit mansions where Diddy's so-called white parties morphed into something far more secretive. And that's where Section 2 takes us.
For more than a decade, Diddy's Labor Day white parties in the Hamptons looked like pure champagne fantasy.
Jay-Z, Beyoncé, Kim Kardashian, Leonardo DiCaprio, all photographed under strict white-only dress codes that made every snapshot pop like a lifestyle ad. But insiders say those sun-kissed gatherings were just the front foyer. The real action began later, behind locked doors, at what guests would whisperingly call freak-offs. According to federal filings and Cassie Ventura's 4-day testimony, these late-night extensions were no casual after-parties. They ran on detailed checklists, extra linens, blackout drapes, cameras rolling, plus an inventory big enough for a warehouse. Agents claim they seized over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant during 2024 raids on Diddy's homes. One former assistant described prepping boutique hotel levels of toiletries while male escorts were booked like line items on a spreadsheet. The celebrity fallout has been swift and very public. Will Smith told fans, "I don't have shit to do with Puffy," insisting he'd never set foot in one of those rooms. Ice Cube doubled down on stage. "Me and WC ain't never been to a Diddy party," emphasizing that reputations are now built on one sentence: "I was never there." Yet photos from the late 1990s and early 2000s tell a different story for Jay-Z. Grainy stills show a young Huv in nothing but boxer briefs, laughing shoulder to shoulder with his host. Fans replay that footage and ask, if you were comfortable enough to run around in your drawers, what else did you see? Cassie's account deepens the unease. She claims participants were plied with drugs, filmed without real consent, and later reminded that the footage could surface if anyone talked. Jurors watched the 2016 hotel hallway assault video, Diddy kicking her limp body, while she described freak-off weekends where she felt more property than partner. So the question hangs in the rafters of that Manhattan courtroom. Were these gatherings glamorous networking hubs or engineered arenas of coercion? The answer may hinge on one man's memories, which brings us to Section 3, where Jay-Z tries to erase 30 years of friendship in a single sworn statement.
For 3 decades, Sean Jay-Z Carter and Sean Diddy Combs were hip-hop's model power duo. Joint tracks, co-headline tours, investment deals, and even pet nicknames. Diddy once bragged that just 2 people may call him by his birth name, and one of them is Jay-Z. "We call each other Sean." Yet the federal courtroom has a way of vaporizing nostalgia. In December 2024, when a civil suit dragged both men into the same allegation of assaulting a 13-year-old at the 2000 VMAs after-party, Jay-Z's response was nuclear. He labeled the claim a blackmail attempt and vowed not to pay one red penny. His attorney, Alex Spiro, went further on national TV. "There is no friendship or longtime bond here. Mr. Carter's connection to Mr. Combs was purely professional." Fans hearing that statement replayed the receipts. Getty archives and a now viral YouTube clip show a younger Hove loping through one of Diddy's Hampton mansions in nothing but boxer briefs. Undeniable proof he attended at least some of the legendary White Party after hours. Studio collabs from I Get Money Forbes 123 Remix to I Do It for Hip Hop, plus business ventures like Ciroc cross-promo events, underlined a friendship the public assumed was ironclad. So why the sudden ice wall? Insiders cite 2 pressures. Legal survival. Linking any billionaire empire to an active RICO trafficking indictment is brand poison. Distancing is corporate crisis management 101. Receipts versus reputation. Every photo, every champagne toast, every locker room-style moment can be subpoenaed. By downplaying closeness, Jay-Z limits what prosecutors or opportunistic civil lawyers can imply he knew. But loyalty cuts both ways. To longtime fans, Spiro's statement sounded like a friend ghosting you the minute blue lights hit the driveway.
Comment threads lit up with side-by-side images. The 2004 CFDA afterparty where the two Seans hugged like brothers, versus January 2025, when Carter's camp insisted they were barely associates. The optics feel less like strategic distancing and more like survival mode in real time. Whether Jay-Z's new narrative holds depends on one unanswered trio of questions. What did he see? When did he see it? And why stay silent until now? The prosecution intends to ask exactly that, and Section 4 dives straight into the lawsuit that first cracked the veneer and forced Hove to pick a side.
The friendship truly cracked, not on a dance floor, but in a courthouse. December 2024, a civil filing drops like a thunderclap, alleging that Diddy and Jay-Z drugged and assaulted a 13-year-old girl after the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. Rumors had swirled for years, but this was the first time the claims reached a judge's docket. Jay-Z's answer is swift and volcanic. Through high-profile attorney Alex Spiro, he brands the lawsuit pure extortion, files a countersuit against the plaintiff's lawyer, and vows that not one red penny will exchange hands. Court brief pushed back hard. The nightclub named in the complaint never existed. Travel records place Carter hundreds of miles away, and witness lists dissolve under scrutiny. By 14 February 2025, the case is dismissed with prejudice, gone for good. Spiro crows about vindication, but skeptics note that dismissals can stem from procedural snags or raw intimidation just as easily as innocence. Barely 8 weeks later, things get even stranger. A Florida man named Joseph Manzaro files what tabloids dub penis mask gate, claiming Diddy strapped a prosthetic to his face and paraded him in front of party guests that supposedly included Jay-Z, Beyoncé, LeBron James, and Gloria Stefan. Within days, Carter's team produces flight logs proving he was in New York, not Miami. The amended suit quietly deletes every celebrity except Diddy, then limps into obscurity. 2 lessons emerge. Sensational suits muddy the water. Each outlandish claim lets defense attorneys shout, "cash grab," making real survivor stories fight through noise. Jay-Z is done playing the loyal brother. Every court victory feeds his new mantra, strictly business, never best friends. Yet internet sleuths replay those vintage party clips, Jay-Z in boxer briefs, laughing beside Diddy's champagne tower, and ask the nagging question, if you were close enough to party like family, what did you see behind those locked doors? Section 5 turns that question toward the one witness no amount of legal spin can erase, Cassie Vandura, and her 4-day testimony that left the jury white-knuckled.
Cassandra Ventura strode into the witness box on May 13th and stayed there until the gavel dropped on May 17th, narrating 10 years of what she called life or death love. With each answer, she peeled back another layer of Combs' private world, turning the government's case from paperwork to visceral, lived horror. The choreography of a freak-off. Cassie said these weren't spur-of-the-moment romps, they were productions. Hotel suites were blacked out, extra linens ordered, male escort scheduled, cameras placed, and about 10 family-sized bottles of Johnson's baby oil heated in the sink so she would glisten constantly. 2 weeks earlier, an FBI agent testified that raids on Combs' homes turned up more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, underscoring the industrial scale of the setup. Aftermath, literally. She described post-event routines that sound like triage, IV drips, massages, opiates, food deliveries, then doing it again while fighting urinary tract infections. Sometimes the freak-offs were back-to-back, she told jurors, adding, "I can't believe I lived through that." The smoking reel. Prosecutors played the now infamous 2016 hotel hallway video. Combs in a towel, sprinting after Cassie, yanking her hair, kicking her limp body, then hurling a vase. News crews outside gasped. Inside, 2 jurors wiped away tears. "I'd give the $20 million back." Under gentle redirect, Cassie confirmed this sum of her 2023 civil settlement.
Asked what the money meant now, she broke. I'd return every dollar if it erased those nights. The line landed like a gavel of its own, and even the defense table fell silent. By the time she stepped down, Cassie had supplied the prosecution with a narrative spine: preparation, coercion, violence, payoff, and regret. The jury now has a face and a video to go with every spreadsheet of flights, texts, and cash drops still to come. Next up, Section 6 shows how other witnesses and hard evidence stitch Cassie's trauma into an alleged criminal enterprise.
If Cassie's testimony gave the case its heartbeat, the next wave of witnesses stitched arteries and bone onto the prosecution's RICO skeleton. Former personal assistant, Mia, spent 2 days on the stand recounting beatings aboard private jets and birthday party assaults, then explaining why years of affectionate texts didn't erase the violence. "I was brainwashed," she told jurors, describing a cycle of terror and gratitude that made her call an alleged rapist her protector. Dawn Richard, once of Danity Kane, followed with a blunt memory. Diddy slamming Cassie's head into a bed frame while Richard stood frozen at the door. "I saw him get violent with her often," she said, voice cracking. A hotel manager and a security consultant rounded out the human testimony, each supplying dates, room numbers, and panic button calls that matched flight logs and hotel invoices already in evidence. Then came the forensics. An FBI agent detailed the September 16, 2024 raids on Combs' properties, hidden hard drives, prescription sedatives, and a haul that stunned even seasoned agents, more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant stacked in labeled crates. "That's commercial inventory," the agent deadpanned, drawing audible gasps from the gallery. Prosecutors replayed the 2016 hallway video, Combs in a towel, yanking Cassie by the hair, her body limp, while overlaying it with hospital intake notes from that night. Jurors, already grim, watched Dawn Richard mouth the word "see" to no one in particular. Point by point, each witness and exhibit knitted Cassie's 4-day saga into a lattice of timestamps, receipts, and surveillance stills. Defense lawyers insisted swinger parties aren't felonies, yet the cumulative picture looked less like consensual hedonism and more like industrialized coercion, exactly what federal racketeering law was written for. With the core narrative now corroborated, the trial pivots to the outrageous and the unbelievable, because the next wave of lawsuits proves that not every accuser can tell truth from tabloid fantasy. Section 7 dives into the wildest claims, the swift dismissals, and how they threaten to drown real survivors in noise.
Just when the prosecution thought it had a clean narrative, a parade of tabloid-ready lawsuits lurched onto the docket, each more outlandish than the last, and each threatening to drown real testimony under a tidal wave of clickbait. Take Joseph Manzaro's April 2025 filing. In lurid detail, he claimed Diddy drugged him, strapped a penis mask to his face, and marched him through a Miami freak-off allegedly watched by Beyoncé, Jay-Z, LeBron James, and the Estefans. Within a week, Jay-Z's lawyers produced flight logs showing Carter was in New York that night, while Beyoncé was photographed vacationing in Hawaii. Manzaro quietly scrubbed the Carters from his complaint, and entertainment pages moved on to the next headline. Diddy's defense pounced, waving the lawsuit as proof that money grabbers are lining up for payouts. Legal analysts warned that every bizarre claim muddies the credibility pool, making genuine survivors like Cassie work twice as hard to be heard. Even longtime Diddy nemesis 50 Cent, usually the first to crack a meme, admitted the circus helps the defendant. When you start hearing penis mask stories, folks forget the real video of him kicking Cassie. Still, Fifth couldn't resist trolling. After Cassie's testimony, he posted AI mock-ups of itty-bitty Diddy next to pallets of baby oil. And the noise now echoes in Washington. Asked on June 2nd whether he'd consider a presidential pardon, Trump said he'd look at all the facts, dangling a political lifeline,
even as 50 Cent publicly urged him to stay out of it. So yes, there are 63 and counting civil complaints swirling around Combs, ranging from credible to cartoonish. But once you strip away the fever dream filings and influencer lawyer press conferences, the federal indictment still leans on hard drives, hotel cameras, and a decade of corroborated trauma. And that brings us to Section 8, where the fallout ricochets through record labels, brand deals, and even Oval Office optics, because hip-hop's legal drama has officially gone geopolitical.
The courthouse doors may contain the testimony, but they can't fence in the blast radius. As each lurid detail leaks, entire corporate pillars around Sean Diddy Combs are toppling, and the crisis has drifted all the way to the White House press room. Brands are bailing fast. Liquor giant Diageo, once Diddy's $1 billion dance partner in Ciroc and De Leon, walked away from a 15-year deal, citing irreparable harm to brand safety. A week later, retail chains quietly cleared end caps of Sean John apparel, and marketing analysts now count 18 major partnerships that have fled the Combs enterprise since the first federal raids. Media empire in freefall. In 2023, Diddy stepped down as chairman of Revolt to let the network stay mission-focused. By spring 2025, he'd sold his entire stake to an employee-led coalition, divesting before creditors or advertisers forced the issue. What was pitched as a philanthropic exit now looks like a lifeboat launch from a sinking vessel. Airwaves muting the mogul. Boston's jammin' 94.5 and LA's 93.5 K-Day yanked Bad Boy classics off rotation. Change.org petitions press Spotify to scrub his catalog, and hashtag Mute Diddy trends every court recess. Streaming platforms haven't pulled the trigger yet, but algorithms have quietly demoted his biggest hits, a slow suffocation by silence. Awards circuit turned blacklist. After skipping the 2024 Grammys under a cloud of fresh lawsuits, Diddy reportedly lost seating privileges for 2025 altogether. Industry insiders whisper that no major show wants the optics of front-row shots while trafficking testimony crawls across their lower third. Enter the Oval Office. On May 30th, Donald Trump told reporters he'd look at the facts if a pardon request arrived, an offhand comment that blew open cable news panels. Longtime rival 50 Cent immediately fired back, urging Trump to save his political capital for literally anyone else. The spectacle turned a sex trafficking trial into a potential wedge issue for 2026. Collateral shockwaves. Label boards are stress-testing contracts. Brand attorneys are rewriting morality clauses. And junior artists who once begged for a Bad Boy cosign now scrub the tag from their bios. The implicit message across boardrooms and Senate hearing rooms alike: no accolade, partnership, or political friendship is safe when RICO is on the table. With reputations collapsing and a possible presidential pardon dangling in midair, the final verdict won't just decide one man's freedom. It could redraw the power map of hip-hop, corporate sponsorship, and celebrity politics for years to come. Power, loyalty, and survival have been the invisible currency of hip-hop for decades, and this trial is forcing everyone to choose which they value most. Jay-Z's sudden pivot from brotherhood to strictly business cracked the facade. Cassie's testimony supplied the raw nerve, and a mountain of corroborating receipts turned whispered rumors into courtroom fact. Yet as outrageous lawsuits and political cameos crowd the headlines, one truth remains. A final verdict will decide far more than Sean Combs' future. It will signal whether celebrity influence still outranks accountability in America. So ask yourself, if everything you ever built depended on silence, would you speak up or stay hidden? And when the gavel finally drops, guilty or not, will the industry clean house or quietly reset the party circuit under a new set of names? Drop your take in the comments, hit subscribe for our day-by-day trial recaps, and tap the bell so you don't miss the moment power and justice collide on the record.